years ago won't buy much of anything here today.
And why the millennial generation is starting to give up because they can't afford to get a good job or own a house.
8 million Venezuelans voting for this assembly, saying it's actually less than 3.
It is. And people are going to start rioting in the streets.
Was reported to have asked Putin for military support that would help him stay in power.
We will make America safe again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
And they ignore him. And 8 more years goes by till Bernie himself finally admits to his sons, hey, I've been running a Ponzi scheme.
Does its dominance mean it can use the alliance for its own ends?
Since 1981, bond yields, also known as coupon rates, have just gone down and down and down.
The Federal Reserve note will be your biggest financial liability.
RTD Live Talk. It's Thursday night. We're live. Looking forward to finding out what's happening in the news, and definitely wanted to cover or share with you a conversation I had tonight that I thought was very informative, and wish I could have continued it on further by having the gentleman join me tonight for a live stream, but yet he promised to join me tomorrow. So with that being the case, tomorrow, probably afternoon sometime, I'm going to have a gentleman who's currently visiting his family in Caracas, Venezuela, and he's from right outside the capital, actually on an island right off the coast of Venezuela there, but he said he would love to come on and talk to you guys and give you the whole rundown as to what's happening. And just from a brief conversation over the phone with him, one thing he told me that that shocked me when because I asked him to repeat that. And he was saying, hey, Mike, he's like, on my travel into Caracas today, the capital of Venezuela, he was like, when you're driving on a freeway, you look alongside the road and you see paper money just blowing in the wind. And so he's like, could you ever imagine a time where you would be driving down the street and you see paper blowing in the wind and no one's in a hurry to pick it up? And I was like, that's something different. And he's like, Mike, he's like, they're not old bills. He's like, we're not talking about old money. We're talking about just freshly printed notes from a year ago when Venezuela did their redenomination of the currency at that time. So most people are aware of the fact that they're on their third currency in the last 3, 4, 5 years. So, man, I was like, yeah, we got to definitely talk about that because people, I'm sure, wouldn't believe that if they saw it, apart from having to see it. So, other than that, tomorrow afternoon, definitely want to keep you guys up to breast as to what's happening. And so I think tomorrow's will be a nice little chat. And so definitely, if you guys can tune in, feel free to do so. But as always, we're live right now. Be about 30, 40 minutes, give or take. It's Thursday night. Want to find out what's happening in your world. Any news stories worthy of talking about, definitely make sure you mention that in the chat. And if we have any new viewers, where are you checking in from? Anywhere around the country or outside the country? Looking forward to find out who's chiming in from where. So we got New Orleans in the building. Welcome, my friend. Thanks for tuning in. How's everything down there in your area? Says the banking system. Yeah, it's not doing too good. Hey, what's going on tonight, everyone? Yeah, so with that being the case, I want to actually, one of the main stories that came across that got my attention today was the pump fake, or the alleged pump fake that, it said, Mike, any thoughts on milk now being racist? Milk, I'm not familiar with that subject matter. That's some new topic that people are marching in the streets for or something like that. Yeah. Let me know a little bit what that is all about, because I'm not sure about that aspect there. But what I was talking about was the pump fake done by Goldman Sachs. And so apparently a part of the fake news or the scare to get people to sell out of their cryptos. Apparently Goldman Sachs allegedly said that they never stated that they were getting out of the cryptocurrency business or thinking about doing an exchange. And so it's interesting. So Bunny, post our article, share that link in the chat, and I'll click on it and see what's going on with that. And so apparently a lot of people sold into the false news that Goldman Sachs was actually getting out of the business. And so, of course, I'm sure a lot of people are regretting because, like always, if people don't realize, man, the goal is to scare you out of your position. The goal is to keep you in the fiat currency system. Everything is denominated in the Federal Reserve note. They want to keep you in it. So everything that presents itself as an option out of it, they're going to do anything they can to spread news that will make people second guess any chance of being able to preserve your wealth. So definitely never go for the pump fake. It says, let me see. It says Goldman Sachs backs off law. Actually, I'll click on and we can cover. I wouldn't mind touching some of these articles here. And about Goldman Sachs, it says Goldman Sachs CFO says bank is working on Bitcoin derivative. Bitcoin derivative for clients. And so, like always, a derivative is basically a legal form of gambling or betting against or for some type of asset. And so by them wanting the derivatives reassures the public and the viewers and those that are looking for outlets, a variety of outlets out of the paper system, that Bitcoin is officially a financial asset because they're looking to really bet and hedge against it. So definitely keep that in mind. Next time there's a major sell-off, might want to not sell as fast and probably buy the dips as well as in the precious metal sector. It says, caught a report that the bank was ditching plans to launch a cryptocurrency trading desk was fake news. Chavez says the bank is working on a derivative, a Bitcoin derivative known as non-deliverable forward because of demand from clients. So basically, they're going to create more funny money here in regards to giving the illusion that people will earn a bit or purchase a Bitcoin, but in actuality, it's going to be some form of paper that will not be deliverable. So once again, it's another way of just getting more people to invest in a paper derivative aspect here. So keep an eye out for that type of stuff. Don't fall for that. Says he looked to knock down the report about the banking dialing back plans, but also made it clear that there's never been a timeline for the effort. So yeah, apparently that was a part of the reason Bitcoin dropped $1,000 or so within a 24-hour period. So yeah. Says there were events that did not. There were events that did not just Goldman Sachs. There were events that just Goldman Sachs. Well, yeah. So feel free to chime in on what other events were happening out here outside of the Goldman Sachs. So the bright side of the volume is that gave up the Bitcoins and now they can be distributed amongst the people, and that's what we tend to think. The fact that a lot of heavy hitters sold into it, which was the reason the price dipped. But it's good to say along the way, those that are newbies and more so probably have more invested than they can afford to lose, they also sold into this big dip, which means that if there is another dip or hiccup and it goes even lower, those same big whales and big hedge funds or whoever they are with the big money, they're going to buy back into Bitcoin and accumulate even more. So it always favors those who are able to, it always favors those who are sitting on large amounts of cash for this type of thing here. So it's usually small fries that never get a chance to truly benefit the way the big boys do. It says, Mike, when are you going to get Gregory Mannarino on? Very good question there. I will actually reach out to Gregory again. I'll reach out to him this weekend and see if he'd be willing to come bless us with his presence again. He's always great to go back and forth with, a world of knowledge. So he's been on RTD now maybe 3 times thus far. So it's about that time. So I'll put that call in. So thanks for that. Any other guests you guys want to see? If there's enough demand, I'll make sure to reach out to them. And if they say yes, they'll be back on. So Bakersfield, California in the house. Bakersfield, how's everything in Cali? Any new news out there? I know California always have something jumping off over there, whether it be the situation on the political side or with the overall economy there, taxes, the cost of living through the roof, more people sleeping in their cars out there. There's always going to be news coming out of there. Someone says Greg is a Freemason. Michael, I don't know really. That's not something I've ever really even. That's none of my business. You know what I'm saying? Like I believe he's a person who speaks the truth and relevance to going against the mainstream narrative. So that's my type of guy. So what he does behind closed doors or who he's in allegiance to, that's between him and his maker. It says Greg is a vampire. Be careful. Yeah, but regardless of our opinion, let's keep it friendly here. Gray's a good guy, and I believe that he shares information from the heart to inform people, not to hurt them. So that being the case, he gets a thumbs up in my book. It says, your thoughts on the Mint stopping Silver Eagles, Kitco News. Yeah, I mentioned that last night and how it's not the first time that they stopped sales well before the end of the year. I think it was 3 years ago, when actually there was a very high demand for Silver Eagles, and they ended up stopping short, saying that there was at that time, I think they stopped Silver Eagles, saying that they needed to get ready for the next model's edition, which means they had to, do something with the machines or whatnot. And I'm thinking, how hard is it to change the stamp or whatever it is that, stamps the actual the coins or whatever. So, but apparently they just wanted to cut down early, which they're doing this year. And apparently, according to several commentators, it's illegal for them to not supply demand to the public. But as you've noticed, they get away with whatever they want to do. So on top of that, as of this year, I read that they've only sold approximately 8 million or so ounces of silver in comparison last year, where it was 20, 30, 40 thousand, or 20, 30, 40 million ounces, where as of now they're not selling as much, or they're not reporting the truth. And so I believe it has a lot to do with the crypto. A lot of people would rather hold some of the top cryptos and actually acquire silver. So that's why I believe that they probably will get away with cutting sales short now, because most people rather have cryptos anyway, it seems. Says Greg Hunter, USA Watchdog. Hope you can team up with him. I think I reached out to Greg maybe 2-3 years ago, and he gave me. It's a schedule situation. He let me down nice. Basically, was saying schedule-wise didn't work out, and so at that time I didn't have much of a following or viewership. So I understand that. So I'll reach back out to him and see what he has in mind, if he would love to join us. Says, can I stop Bitcoin though? I don't doubt it. And at the end of the day, here's a different way of looking at alternatives, such as the crypto sector, as well as silver or whatever, gold or palladium, platinum, whatever you want to do, whatever you look at. If you go back throughout time, so for example, when it comes to silver or gold, just look at it in a long-term viewpoint of, if you are able to measure or value your metals in reference to time and the paper price. So an ounce of silver 30, 40 years ago, 50 years ago was $1. It cost one piece of paper for 1 ounce. Today it costs you 15, 16, 17 pieces of paper. That's value. That's value added. That's a nominal gain, paper gain. It's not going to zero, believe me. So don't ever think about it. They can never manipulate it enough to go to zero. So regardless of the price, regardless of the slam now, 14, 25, whatever it be, it will not go to zero. You're going to be safe. In reference to paper now, as you see what's happening all around you when it comes to national currencies, those on the other hand, those are all receipts or instruments that we use as a medium of exchange to get what we need in life. We don't actually need those papers, but we use them because it's legal tender. It's what we have to use within our borders. So with that being the case, never pay attention to the price. And that's what goes the same with the crypto sector. Cryptos, for the most part, I say, are 10 years old, and ever since the very first Bitcoin or whatever was mined at 0.00 cent, today it's at $6,400. That's a lot of value that's been pumped into a digit that people aren't moving away from. In my opinion, with everything been set up, a Bitcoin will not go to zero anytime soon. So that's just my opinion, and I imagine if you are understanding that everything is measured against worthless paper, at the end of the day, I would imagine you would probably want to hold on to something outside of a note. But I could be wrong. It says Reddit News about 1/3 has less than 5,000 in retirement. Yeah, that's very true. So one of the viewers here, Jeff, who often comments in the section, in the video comment section, and he leaves articles throughout the day. So definitely, you guys check that out. And also today, actually, because last night I mentioned in the last night link, there is a link to the Telegram, RTD Telegram group, and today I posted an article in there that was, once again, it was another informative article written by someone in the know that basically gave a nice detailed timeline as to how things are falling apart from the seams, and gave a lot of statistical data that you can't say is false. So with that being the case, if you guys are interested, go click on the link or join the Telegram group, and then click on the link. You can read it. It's from Forbes, and it was a very good article. It was too long to actually do a news story on because it was so good. I would have been reading forever, but I'd advise you guys, if you're interested, to check it out. So it was posted in the Telegram group, and if you guys are interested, just type in, go to Telegram, Rethinking the Dollar. It should pop up there. Join the group, and then we can keep the party going after the live stream ends. It says silver is selling for 15 U.S. in Venezuela, our research last week. So the question is, if that is correct, if silver is selling for 15 U.S. dollars in Venezuela, it's good to say that if you look at the value of one Federal Reserve note, which as of last week, apart from them doing their redenomination of their currency there, so there's two currencies right now floating in Venezuela. So basically, an actual physical dollar, like, where we at? Like this piece of paper right here, this dollar here, is the equivalent of gold in Venezuela, because that piece of paper right now could get you 3-4 million bolivars, which will let me know that if you could find some silver in the form of a coin down there, you either would have to have $15, as you say here, which I don't doubt it, but more likely, because people don't use dollars like that because it's not legal tender in Venezuela, you would have to take that dollar and convert it to bolivars if you want to acquire a piece of silver. So if you say 14 million bolivars, just probably on the low end, 4 million bolivars on the low end for one piece of paper, so that's 4 million times 15, which lets you know what the true price is, and that's, according to my math, that's 60 million bolivars that you would actually probably have to have in your hand to give to someone in exchange for that silver. So when you do the reconversion from our currency to their currency, 60 million bolivars, a lot of people don't have. When I think 2 million or 3 million is the minimum wage that the government gives those that are getting some type of aid from the government. So with that being the case, not many people have silver, I would imagine, at that price especially. It says, just ran into a young couple, 21, in a tent. Wow. So you said you just ran into a young couple that's 21 years old in a tent behind McDonald's. Robert, what city is this in? Yeah, that's sad, right? That's bad, man. For a young couple to be in a tent. I'm thinking, like, worst case scenario, you would have family, parents, or something like that. But wow, if that's the case, man, like, and that's the type of things where, I hear a story like that, and I'm thinking, like, man, I wish there was something I can do to help out, because I don't think nobody deserves to be out on their knuckles like that, but nevertheless to be a teenager. Like, you think at 21 years old, you're in college. It says just west of Chicago. Man, that is very bad, man. So I imagine they just so Robert, did you have a chance to talk to him? Or actually, if you got a minute, man, call in. I would love to talk to you directly and see if you had a chance to talk to them and tell me a little bit of their story, because I'm curious as to how to a couple 21-year-olds get out in the streets, and how did they end up in that position. I'm curious. So call in if you are able or would like to talk and share that story if you had a chance to talk to them. It says fiat currencies all over the earth are falling off a cliff. The crash has begun, so be ready. Cryptonium. Jay, I do agree 100%, man, and I believe we are like, who was it? I think it was Rick Rule. I think Rick Rule or Doug Casey. I know those are two guys I've been meaning to reach out to, so I'm gonna definitely try to get those guys on again. But one of them mentions, I think it was Rick Rule or Doug Casey. I'm not sure, anyone, if you guys remember. But one of them always mentioned as a part of their story to describe where we're at now. They said we're approaching the eye of the middle of the storm. And so I'm thinking, like, when he said that, I'm like, God, that's, yeah, the wind is blowing. A lot of things are shaking. A lot of things are being moved right now behind the scenes. And we, as the United States of America, are the center point of everything that's happening around us right now. And that is for those that are aware, it's a privilege to be able to say, hey, man, like, we still got some time to prepare. But yet the question is, when we've never experienced the type of things that's happening all around us, what does being prepared really mean? Like, we could throw out the stuff, as far as this labeled preppers, like, have food, water, clothing, da-da-da. But yet, when you've never had a complete monetary reshifting and a collapse of a reserve currency in such a developed world where everything is computer based. How do you really prepare for that when, say, for example, your cell phone may not work? Therefore, most people no longer have a house phone. So how you going to communicate with your family? And then you factor in everything we do information wise goes through the internet. In one form or another, everyone's employment has to do with the internet. So everyone goes to some location that's internet based, where if the internet shuts down, and like that's third world, like that's borderline Mad Max type situation, because if we don't have a way to connect instantly, we're lost. Because if you paid attention, there's no more phone booths. You can't go to your local gas station and go use a phone booth no more. Those are gone. So communication is going to be gone. And speaking of which, there's a lot of inventions that have come out in reference to being able to acquire your own little mini cell tower, so that you can connect, your family and friends can connect to a central little base in the form of a walkie-talkie. And I've been meaning to look into it further, just to have some on deck as a means of communicating in case cell phone towers get shut off or however that goes. But what it says is 1980 Economist magazine is playing out. Yeah, I do believe that. And I mentioned a while back that I don't think it's coincidence that the 1988 covers mentioned that in 2018 there'll be a new world reserve currency, and the phoenix and the coin and all the symbolism behind that seems to be playing out very well right now, because here we are, all the mainstream talk now is geared towards a digital coin, and with Bitcoin leading the way, as the a lot of alternative minded people saying that have put their confidence in the subject matter of Bitcoin, saying that it defies, it goes beyond governments, it's bigger than the governments, it's not decentralized. I mean, it is decentralized, so it can't be shut down, can't be controlled. And I'm like, that just seems very fitting for a way of transitioning to a new system as the old one collapses. But yet, as we see now, that a lot of the whales and the big hedge funds and the bankers are getting involved in that. And any minute now, when it becomes a true, real threat to the current status quo of the central bank being the leading financial force on this planet, the central bank is going to start, or the central bank, they could already. I wouldn't be surprised if the Federal Reserve, it has a special fund outside of what we know about, because they've never been held accountable for what the currency they put in circulation. So the Federal Reserve could easily be right now acquiring Bitcoin in any amount they want, because when you can just go on your computer and transfer to a bank, the Federal Reserve could be sitting on the most Bitcoins right now. And if, just say for example, if they were acquiring Bitcoins, they can acquire as many as they want, because people right now are still willing to sell a Bitcoin perhaps for 6,500 pieces of paper, or 7,000, or whatever it might be when it gets to that new number. So people would still be willing to get rid of a coin for some paper. And when you have a printing press and you can print as much paper as you want, wouldn't it be smart on your part to let it run up to another 20,000 again, so that people would then look to buy in or look to sell and get those profits off top, and you acquire more Bitcoin? So yeah, if I was a central bank, I would definitely be in the crypto business myself, because people are thinking it's going to be the primary crypto that people use 5-10 years from now. And when you got a printing press, you can change all that if you wanted to, in my opinion. It says silver will hold industrial value. I do believe that clearly, and that's one thing you can't fabricate, or you can't fool anybody on actually having to go to a physical location and dig out of the ground and bring up something precious and valuable that is scarce. That we won't be able to get away from. And there still will be people who will exchange paper for it, but there'll come a time where there may not be any silver or gold left in any region where mankind can reach. And at that point, that's when the true value of those metals will be known. And at that point, I don't think people will even want paper for it. It says silver 1-to-1 ratio possible. Man, I do believe it. And the more and more I hear and learn from a historical aspect of the true ratio of the way it comes out the ground at 1 to 9, and the fact it's 1 to 80 or whatever it is now. I haven't actually been keeping up to date on it, but that lets me know that there will come a time where that metal will not be as easily mineable as it is now, and when that happens, there will be a much higher demand for silver than there will be gold, because as of now, unless there's some invention we don't know about, every electronic uses silver. They don't necessarily have to use gold. So if every part of technology has to have silver in it, there's going to come a time where either it will be scarce or we won't be able to use gadgets we use anymore unless there's some type of substitute. But also I heard about technology and the way mankind is. We always coming up with ways to to artificially create matter. So I wouldn't doubt, and I actually heard about some stuff that there's people out here who can actually create silver and gold in a petri dish or something like that. So if that is the case, then I could solve the problem, and then at that point, money, gold and silver would no longer be a true asset to anybody, because if it can be grown in a petri dish or falsely mined, then that would change the whole subject matter there. But we have a call, and I gotta get my. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yeah, Mike, Tim, Colorado.
Hey, Tim. How you doing, buddy? What's on your mind tonight?
Oh, a couple things. One is the advice you gave me on silver the other day. I took it, but I wanted to let you know that Bix Ware warned us 2 days, day before yesterday, that the mint was out of silver. One, and two. So I purchased, and I'm back ordered until October.
Really? But as we talked about, but you're locked in at a price, correct?
Correct.
So, but and that could be good and a good thing. But if the price drops a little bit more, then perhaps you probably would have wished you would have been able to acquire some, or there would not be any to acquire. So at the end of the day, as long as it's coming to you, you're good, I believe.
Oh, I totally agree. It dropped 3 cents. Leads right into the next question.
Yeah.
This is the third day in a row they're holding silver right at the bottom of the trough.
And go ahead.
How do you think? I know it's manipulated, but you wouldn't think they'd leave it there that long. It makes it kind of easy to take your time.
Let me see. Lose a minute. I would say. Man, like we've been so focused on the price and what's happening with the manipulation. I would just leave the number. I personally would just leave the number alone, man, and just work on acquiring it at any price you can get it. Especially knowing right now is probably as cheap as it might end up ever being. Especially looking ahead in the future. So I don't really pay attention to the manipulation, because as you can tell, they're going to suppress the price of everything that looks like an option out of the financial system. So cryptos, metals, anything else I'm not even aware of, I'm sure it's in a slump right now. So with that being the case, if it could go down a couple more cents or another $1, but then like somebody mentioned in the chat last night, dealers are just going to add that difference on in the premium. So as opposed to being $2.99 or premium, it might be $3.99 or whatever it might be wherever you shop at. So I would say just acquire as much as you can while you can, if that's what you do.
Yeah, no, everything you just said, I totally agree with 100%. And I only have two more topics. One is your callers last night. I think particularly the second one was right all over it. He knew it. He's on top of his game. It was a good call.
Yeah.
And the second thing, you're talking about Bitcoin. I've been studying Bitcoin since it was $800. And there are weaknesses. For one, they say they can only be 21 trillion. Whoever has over 50% of the vote, keeping in mind that the powers that be, the money holders can print and buy as much as they want. We don't even know if they created it.
Yeah.
Whoever has over 50% can make that 42 million. They can make it any number they want, so I don't trust that. Second of all, the technology and acceleration with Moore's laws of computers doesn't mean blockchain can't be broken, even now. And you got to buy it with fiat currency, which registers you. If you get it directly, you can buy it directly from a person, so you can possess it under, without being identified. But if you can't really spend it, if you and ultimately the people that own the world are the bankers, and there's no way they're going to let Bitcoin take over the currency. There's no way. They'll kill us first.
Yeah. Yeah, and so here's the thing: we're in the beginning stages of all of this. Like, this is the first time that there has been something that has been positioned as a possible threat to the old financial system outside of precious metals. Because remind you, last 3, 4, or 5 years, right after the Great Recession hit, that's when precious metals price spiked, because that was the conventional way of getting out of the system. But yet since then, for whatever reason, the mainstream media has jumped on board, adding a little promotion to the crypto space. So now there's two options that's being presented: metals and then the crypto. So this is all a big experiment, because no one knows what will last and what won't last. But based upon history, metals has always been the way out. And I was listening to Lynette Zhang tonight, and she was mentioning about how it's always good to just do what the bankers do, and what they're doing is acquiring physical gold. So if central banks are acquiring gold, that lets me know that there's still value in it. And I'm sure silver as well, since JP Morgan's sitting on the largest hoard that we know about. So yeah, don't listen to them, just do what they do. Get your weight up.
Everything you said is correct. I agree with everything you said is totally accurate.
Yeah.
The only last thing I wanted to mention was, I believe that the government is setting us up to buy into this blockchain Bitcoin technology, as a currency. Yeah. And they're going to make it all illegal, or they're going to shut down the exchanges. They're going to do something, because they're manipulating it right now. It dropped $1,000 last night, late at night.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to go. I don't know what they're going to call it, but just like the Patriot Act and all these names that they give these laws that are exactly the opposite of what they are, they're going to release their own coin. I think when the crap hits the fan, they're going to try and take us all into a blockchain technology, centrally controlled, so they can make as many as they want, just like they're doing in Venezuela and other places.
Yeah, I don't doubt it, and I know for a fact, based upon information that the Federal Reserve has shared, that they are interested in looking into cryptocurrency for themselves. So they're studying the blockchain, and I don't doubt that they already have a coin out there. And so people listed it or named it the Fed coin, meaning it would come from the Federal Reserve. And if it does, it will be considered legal tender, and we will be forced to use it, just because the only way you will be able to do actual legitimate transactions is through that coin, because your bank account will be tied to it. Your employer will have to pay you in it. So you're gonna have to use it regardless. So there's no getting around whatever they issue. Now it's gonna be a matter of whether or not you solely stay in that currency, or if you are able to get out of the Fed coin into some form of metals or papers directly. And then once you're out, then you might have a little bit of privacy, give or take. But the whole goal is to alleviate your privacy. So with the Fed coin, they're going to be able to track everything you do. The whole goal is to make sure they know what you're doing at all times. And speaking of which,
correct. And I think go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was listening to an interview the other day from a economist at Duke University who was getting a lot of attention for his proposal of the Fed needing to come out with a cryptocurrency. And so he was saying that it's time. He was saying that paper is outdated. Like, we don't need paper no more. We need a cryptocurrency because of this, because of that. So once you get more mainstream economists taking that approach, I believe it will be coming. And it will be coming where you will be forced to use it, my friend. But Tim, got another call coming?
I totally agree. I'll let you go in just a second. I totally agree, except I think they're going to make it difficult to negotiate or barter with other people in metals. I think it'll have to be the black market.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. So black market, and that's going to be the illegal side of things, where they're going to say if you're dealing in the black market, then it's going to be heavy penalty, jail time, fines, and the whole goal is to make sure everything is done above surface, not below. And in alternative coins, Bitcoin, Litecoin, those coins that don't hide your privacy, those are the ones where you're going to be it's going to be easy for you to be discovered. Whereas in the privacy coins that are listed as private, and you have all the brands out there, but those are the ones that is going to skyrocket in nominal price, because everyone will be looking to get involved in those. So that's some things that could happen. So yeah, but we're at the beginning still. So we'll see when time. We'll see as time goes on. But thanks. Yep.
Agreed. Keep up the good work, Mike.
Thanks, my friend. Appreciate you calling. Yeah, man. That's real talk there. The voice of the people is speaking. And so someone says Monero is the real deal. I don't doubt it. I'm a big proponent, and I enjoy learning about the privacy side of things. And so the good thing is, Monero, Dash, and Zcash and Zencash, they're the top, they're the top coins nominally right now. Excuse me, but they're not the only ones. And so my thing is, when it comes to actual total supply or circulating supply, they're all relatively small, circulating supplies, 10,000, 8,000, whatever. And so they're valuable, but there's also other coins out there that I think have value as well. Ideally, I like Pivx, I like Cloak Coin, I like there's another one that I was just looking at, haven't really dived into it deeply yet, but it's the Deep Onion. And so those are all some privacy coins that are out there, and they say private, they say privacy. I don't know if they are valid or whatnot, but time will tell. It says stealth is my new baby. I'm not familiar with that one. I gotta check up that one. It says Dash, linking up with cannabis and CBD industry, good for them. Definitely good. We have another caller. Let's see what's going on. Also, if you guys have not, and if you're watching, hit the thumbs up button so that we can get some more viewers joining us and get them in the discussion. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
I'm Pat from Alabama.
Pat from Alabama. I'm doing excellent, my friend. How are you doing this evening?
I'm just tickled to death to be here, considering the obstetric.
What's on your mind tonight?
Well, number one, it just really freaked me out today when I hear that the Treasury quit selling silver.
Yeah.
So are they holding back what they've already bought because it costs more and they're not going to release it?
That could be the case, or they might actually not. They might have not had as much as needed to meet demands in the first place, and so, as I mentioned before, this isn't the first time they've cut production around this time frame. They did it a couple years ago, and the excuse was they got to get prepared for the next year's model, so they got to shut things down. It was 2 or 3 months well before the end of the year, and so it seemed to fly under the radar. Apart from those that was acquiring it. And at that point, more people was actually looking to acquire silver. So a lot of mints, a lot of bullion dealers had a lot of backlog orders or whatnot because they were running short. And that's when people were acquiring 20, 30 million ounces a month. Now it's only 8 or 9, I heard. So it's not much of a demand. If they can't meet that, then something is going on for real.
Yeah, I was wondering how the commercials were doing.
Yeah.
JM and all those. Are they taking the loss?
I don't know. I would imagine they probably all went up on their premiums, and so I don't know. But those guys, they're big multi-million-dollar corporations, so it's good to say they're sitting on several green boxes in their vaults to meet demands initially. But yet, I think they might have enough in storage to last them throughout the year in case of something like this did happen, which it seems to have happened. So I believe they'll be fine. They're just gonna go up on premium. So if it was like $1.99 above spot, it's gonna be $2.99 or $3, whatever they might do. But if there's still demand, people are gonna pay for it. And at the end of the day, if you end up walking out with a silver eagle for $17.99, think about that. You can get 5 or 4. Was that 5? You can get 5, maybe 6 eagles for $100. So I measure everything as far as what can I get, how much bang can I get for a $100 bill? Because the show is called Rethinking the Dollar. We all know we can't get much for $1, so the next measuring stick is $100. And so throughout the years, I've always measured how many ounces can I get for a $100 bill, and I enjoy being able to get more ounces for 100. So anyway it goes, it's a win-win if you look at it from that standpoint, I think.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about it. I plan on getting heavy, but. I got a quick tip for you real quick.
Yes, please do.
Everybody keeps calling and saying, where do I hide my silver? Well, down south, we got a backyard. And if you take an auger, you need to believe this trick, but if you take an auger and just auger a hole straight down, encapsulate your silver in PVC pipe and whatnot, make it a fill and drop it down the bottom and fill it up, that you've got the same thing as ball.
Yeah.
Because, no, think about it. They can't dig vertically down to get to your stuff. They got to move a lot of earth
Yeah.
before they can get down to it.
Yeah.
And you time a safe by how long it takes people to break into the safe.
Yeah.
15 or 30.
Yeah.
So how long do you think you're going to, not be noticed digging in somebody's backyard?
Yeah. And so that right there, that's clearly some wise advice from what I would call some sound advice from an old timer to dig in your backyard, because that means you have to actually own your property, and a lot of people may not necessarily own their property, and they're probably a mortgage payment away from actually probably not losing their property. So if it'll suck. You do all that digging and burying, and then something happens, you gotta get up and leave, and everything is stuck in that backyard, and you try to go in somebody else's yard down the line and get your stuff back. Yeah. I don't know how that'll fly.
You'll fly pretty good because you'll remove it before you lose your property.
Yeah,
I'll tell you
I'm sure you would.
But I'm just talking about a 6-inch auger hole.
Yeah.
Straight down, not out there digging yourself to put it in the ground.
Yeah.
Just an auger hole.
Yeah.
And drop the PVC pipe down because they got an awful lot of earth to move before they get to your PVC pipe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Moving right along.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my dog went on a great adventure.
Yeah.
We went to do some investing that was unmanipulated at the casino. And one thing I noticed, I didn't run into a lot of happy people.
Really?
I mean, it's kind of like the whole world had a mad on for something. The first thing that happened to me is I walk into the hotel. Now, if you can tell by my whole idea of backyard, I'm an old timer. And the first thing they asked me for was a credit card or a debit card. And I'm thinking, I'm in a casino with a credit card and a debit card. This ain't smart. And they refused my cash money.
Really?
I mean, I made a scene. There was a line going down through there. As I was reading, it was good for all debt.
So what they tell you? So what they told you? No, sir, we won't.
And the lady standing in line, she said, "Hell, put it on my credit card." I slipped her some cash. She put it on her credit card, and away we went.
Really? So that's that's something new, because I don't gamble, so I ain't been in the casino in a while. So they're not taking cash no more.
I've never seen it before, but like I said, the last things I want with me is my debit card and credit card.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's the push to make sure, that's the push to go cashless. So they make it very inconvenient for them because they don't want their cashiers and their employees dealing with cash. They want everything to be done digitally so they can account for it, and they got their reasons of saying it makes everything easier and cheaper for them. So yeah, that's where we head, man. That is where we're heading. So yeah. So the good news is, did you leave out of there with more? Did you leave out with more than you came in?
Treasury's heading with them.
Huh?
I had a moral victory. I came back with a third of my allowance.
With a third of your allowance. All right, my friend. Pat, man, I appreciate you for calling in, man. Thank you.
All right. You have fun. Enjoy yourself.
You too,
Bye.
buddy. Thanks. Oh, man. Pat from Alabama, man. That's some good old advice there. Dig in the backyard. Yeah, man. So we're drawing towards the end of the conversation. It's been great. As I mentioned, tomorrow, I haven't figured out what time just yet, but I want to make sure I keep you guys posted that I'm shooting for tomorrow afternoon or so. And what I'm going to actually do is trying to have a conversation with a gentleman. I'm trying to pull this up here so you guys can see it if you can. And what we're going to do is have a little back and forth. Let me see if I can copy this, put this here, because I'm going to end up putting this out. If I can, maybe I can't. I'm going to put this information out. But anyway, so what I'll do is I'll post it. And more importantly, I'm going to make sure I share it in the Telegram group. So if you guys have not, I would encourage you to, if you own Telegram, join the RTD Rethinking the Dollar Telegram group. Just type in Rethinking the Dollar. It'll pop up. Join there. I'm going to put the picture there and the time there, details there. And I'm going to start doing more sharing of articles and that stuff there so you guys can stay up to date. And other than that, man, it's being real as always. And if you have not, connect with me right here. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Connect with me, whatever. Send me articles throughout the day. I appreciate, staying up to date on news, articles, and whatnot. If I can get to the computer, I'll do a little news update. And other than that, also, if you guys want to support the channel, Patreon. Trying to get my Patreon partnerships up so that I can free up a little bit more time to do more educational work. Want to try to reach more people and get out in the streets and meet people. And I want to do some type of meetup group. I want to start getting the community together face to face, shaking some hands, and having people being able to create an opportunity where people can bring family and friends so we can discuss on solutions. We can go over the problems and come up with some solutions to get the world in tune to what's happening so that people can basically have some options. So that's what I'm trying to do, and I need your guys' help. So if you guys want to be a blessing and support, become a Patreon, and we can go from there. But other than that, everybody, see you tomorrow afternoon-ish for a group, for a live stream with a gentleman in Venezuela, And he was, as I mentioned, for those that might have gotten on late, before I joined on tonight, I was late on the phone with a guy from Venezuela, and he was telling me about some things that he came across just today because he lives outside of Caracas, drove in, and he was saying how he saw it was money all over the freeway of just worthless paper. It's worthless. When nobody wants it, it's worthless, and it was just blowing in the wind. And so definitely look forward to diving into his mind and his world. So tune in tomorrow. Join the conversation. If you have any questions, make sure you give us a call tomorrow, and we'll get them answered and give you a chance to see what it's like living in Venezuela, man. And one thing I like is he's real in tune to cryptos, and he's well informed, and that crypto sector has been a blessing to him and his family because it gave him some options. So he got on that at the right time. So other than that, everybody else have a good night. See you later. Be safe. Stay prayed up, and I'll see you tomorrow for another live stream with a guest from Venezuela. Peace.